Hey YouTube, this is Southern Prepper 1 and welcome to Boots on the Ground. If you have anything you could offer the community, please send it to southernprepper1@yahoo.com. That's southernprepper1, just the number 1, at yahoo.com. That's the only email I use. Don't fall for the scammers. They're going to use my little picture that I have on YouTube, but they're not me. Only way to contact me, southernprepper1@yahoo.com. Let's get right into it. This person lives in Florida, and I guess they're having an increase of their homeowners insurance. It's going from $1,200 and they're going to probably go up to $4,500 per year. Everything's going up. This person said no dry cat food anywhere in the Southwest Washington, it'd be Washington State, under $30 a bag. I've heard dog food production has almost completely taken over trying to keep up with that, and I guess that's why cat food is down. I don't know about that, but all I know is, yes, the expensive cat food is on the shelf and the cheaper brands are not there. This person, I've been waiting for an inhaler for about a month now. The pharmacy cannot locate any. Other folks for other brands say they can't find theirs either. Even the generic ones, which makes me sick, isn't available. I have had one that I have right now that has expired, but I'm going to use that if I have an attack. This was in southwest central Iowa. Getting a lot of people saying they cannot get their medicine. This is insanity inside the United States. Finland has begun construction on a barrier fence along the border it shares with Russia. The country announced this. The construction will begin on a pilot phase that will be about 1.8 miles long, and they're going to test the capabilities of this barrier before they complete the entire project. The full barrier is expected to take 3 to 4 years to build, depending on funding and how construction will proceed. The country said it has over 800 miles between Russia and then Finland, so they have an 800-mile barrier to build. I don't think are going to complete the whole thing, but it will be about 80 to 160 miles long when completed. So I don't know why they're not doing the whole 800. Maybe it's the terrain is unfeasible for military movements to cross it, or it would give them a warning if they did, but it will only be 80 to 160 miles long. I hope they have better luck than we have on our southern border. Central banks globally added another 77 tons to their gold reserves just in the month of January. That is a huge increase, 192% month-on-the-month increase from December. So central banks are buying gold. Turkey Central Bank was one of the bigger buyers in 2022. They added 23 tons of it in January. So they now hold 565 tons of gold. China is also on record buying spree of gold. So central banks around the world knows that fiat currencies will not last, and they're trying to get enough gold, so if they have to come out with a new currency that can be backed by gold, and then we'll have some value. On January 4th, 2023, I reported my home equity line of credit at my local Maine base bank rose from 7% to 9.5%. Today, it went up to 9.75%. Good news, I found a credit card offered at my local credit union last week at 8% fixed rate. Good thing I did, because I have some cards now and they will increase to 30% interest. That is insanity, 30% interest. If you're in debt, please work on getting those high credit cards paid off. Residents in California City warned not to eat food grown in gardens after a toxic dust relief. This was a while ago, but it wasn't immediately announced. I think the incident happened like in November of 2022 because of a refining company. But they were slow to release this information. So if you're in this area, the area east of, I guess, San Francisco, you might want to check with your health department and find out what they're recommending for gardeners, and maybe have your soil tested. This is from Portland, Oregon update. I work on buildings, mostly downtown and the outer edge of the city limits. When I'm working today in downtown, it's a 5-story building with 2 tenants. The rest of the building is vacant and has been for at least 5 years. The top floor has an architectural firm that signed a very long-term lease a year ago, and they just laid off 60% of their employees. Another job is a company that is a suburban business in the suburban business area. And they're having a problem with safety of their employees. I guess security actually has to walk employees to their car in the afternoon. And they said the last straw was a man with an axe got into another secure building, supposed to be very high secured for the people that rent it, and walked down the hallway knocking on locked doors. So, if wherever you are, work on your physical security. It's only going to get worse. Local hardware store had chicks. First order, all of them perished on their way to the hardware store. Second order was delayed a few days. Chicks arrived, but sold out within an hour. Today, the third order, they were due to arrive at 11. They arrived at noon with about 6 people waiting for over an hour. All were sold out within 5 minutes of the staff putting them in their little boxes. And they don't know when their next shipment will come in. They did say the price was decent for the baby chicks. And this is in Wisconsin, west central Wisconsin. We bought a nice property several years ago. We were planning to build a house. We have been planting fruit trees and had a water well drilled. The perk test is good to go, and that's for the septic. We ran into a problem though. So far we cannot get power to our property. We are in the Duke Energy area, but due to the right-of-way issue, they cannot provide power. Waiting to see if Lauren's Electrical can. Would be a long ways across the neighbor's property. Only other option is solar. Don't know if we can afford that. Already have a contract with the builder and the grader. Hopefully we don't lose our down payment. We would have not proceeded this far, but Duke Power said power was going to be no problem getting it to them. Turns out it is a big problem. So tell people to be careful when buying land with no utilities. Very important. If the neighbors don't want the electric to go across their property, they don't have to give you the right-of-way. Now, if the right-of-way is already established when you buy the property, it will be clearly in your deed. It will be clearly on your plat map, so it's no problems there. But if you're getting a piece of property, before you finalize the deal, make sure that you have electricity there. Make that part of the contingency inside before you close if you're really worried, and I would. Their only option now is maybe to go solar. Sometimes you can actually buy a right-of-way from your neighbor by enticing him with giving him some money. So in their case, it might be cheaper to cough up $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to entice the neighbor to sign a right-of-way over so power can be put into your property. This person said the General Dynamic Armament Tech plant in Lincoln, Nebraska has stepped up putting help wanted ads on. So good jobs are available. So if you're in the Lincoln, Nebraska area, opportunity for you. This is from Canton, North Carolina, one of the largest employers in Haywood County, and that's not far from me at all. They announced that they will be closing the paper mill in Canton. This is going to be huge. It's going to eliminate 1,100 jobs in Haywood County. They're also going to close a factory facility in Ohio that has 200 people. So 1,300 people are going to be laid off. This person said, I was laid off on January 9th. I was unemployed for 7 weeks, but I'm now starting my second week on my new job. God has been merciful and we've made it through fine. In fact, it pays $2.75 more per hour. My food preps really help during this time as well. I get so many of these that people say, I had a bump in the road, but I had my food prep and I used it for months. Literally, some people have used it for months to get them by. So, yeah, prepping's for maybe SHTF or a natural disaster, but prepping and having a stockpile of food can get you through illnesses. People have had cancer and they couldn't work, or losing your job. Some people said their son and daughter or their family lost their job. They moved in with me, but we had it all okay because we had extra stored up, so it wasn't a financial burden. This person says, I live outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. A few weeks ago, my physician increased my blood pressure medication from 2 mg to 5 mg. He told me just to double up on my current 2 milligram tablet each morning, to use those up, and then wait for my 5 milligram prescription, and it would be ready at the local CVS. The pharmacy always calls me to advise me about my prescription being ready to pick up, but I never got the notification. On the day I took my last 2 tablets, I called to inquire what about my new prescription would be filled. The pharmacist informed me there was a shortage of the 5 milligram tablets, and they could not fill my prescription. She went on to say that they were on a waiting list and had no idea when they could fill it. She suggested that I check with other pharmacies and inquire if they were available. So I called my physician and have him send them my prescription. Luckily, I had my doctor call them to ask them, and they were able to get it filled by tomorrow. Has anyone else had similar problems getting their prescription medication? I can assure you they have. I get them every day. Hard to find certain medications. Now for my most recent experience. Wife and I are nearly 60. We went to get our 401k, IRA, and annuities out of a system and start paying off debt and spending it to prepare for retirement. This began 2 years ago as we were denied withdrawal as we were still working at the company that had them. We were told we had to be 59 and a half or quit our job or no money would be given. We got lucky, the market's still intact and are still in the process of withdrawing after turning 59.5. We rolled it over to an IRA and then distributed it from there to our banks. This took 10 days every time we made a move before funds were available, making the entire process, which is still in motion, take 2.5 years and counting. For anyone putting money into a 401 or pension, it will be gone before you can get it out if you don't start now. Most pensions will be bankrupt soon, and they just changed the law on 401s. So ESG can take your money now, and it won't be long before it's spent on failing businesses that fit the agenda, just like the pension funds. This is the person that had their food cans bottoms pop off. I spoke with the VP of Keystone today and sent him the video and pictures of the defective cans. He resolved it by going to ship me replacements. He was genuinely confused as how it happened. He got the lot number, so they're going to look into it. But overall, I'm pleased with how they resolved this issue. I hope my experience can be a reminder not just to check your supplies, but bad things can happen. Have redundancy in your plan. When I ordered these, I already had a bounty of supplies, but I would have hated to be a single mom or father starting out prepping and having my food storage spoiled. Yes, Keystone is a good company, and it looks like they resolved this matter, so I knew they would. They're a big company, and I know they value their name because a lot of people use their canned meat products. There's an invasion going on in Turkey right now as we speak. Millions of caterpillars are threatening farmlands there. They're just destroying gardens, crops, and properties. And this is going to lead to an increase in food prices. They already had the deadly earthquake in that area. They say farmers have no insecticides left to protect their crops and fields. So this is terrible. Turkey also has very high inflation. This is from a conveyor manufacturer near Louisville, Kentucky. They just reduced some of the workers' hours for March. The electrical guys that work in that area are going to lose 5 days of work in the month. Layoffs are expected soon. And these are because Amazon, FedEx have reduced their orders. This is a conveyor company. So no one's expanding big warehouses. Conveyor guys aren't making new conveyors. So terrible news for our economy. President Biden on Tuesday proposed raising taxes on Americans earning over $400,000 per year and granting the government new powers to negotiate prescription drug prices as an attempt to keep Medicare afloat for the next 2 decades. The budget I'm releasing this week will make Medicare trust funds solvent beyond 2050 without cutting a penny in benefits. the problem isn't we need to increase taxes on anyone. The problem is the United States government needs to get spending under control. You've probably heard of the four Americans that were in Mexico. 2 of them were killed. 2 of them were taken hostage. Luckily, the 2 are released. They're back in Texas. But be very careful if you're traveling overseas. I've traveled all over overseas, but I was with the United States government working for Uncle Sam. So I had the luxury of having weapons and having many people with me. But it is a feeling when you go to another country, you don't have that protection that you would in the United States. So be very careful. Also, the Tennessee State House passed a bill which will create a process for the state to buy, sell, and hold gold and silver. This would set a foundation for Tennessee to achieve more financial independence and help undermine the Federal Reserve monopoly on money. So they're going to also looking at creating a state gold bullion depository. So this is great for the state of Tennessee. It will create financial security and independence, and it will give them a hedge against really collapse in the U.S. Federal Reserve note. So Tennessee, I commend you on that. I also, just before I did this video, looked at the debt chart, and the debt chart is $31,602 billion. Astronomical. That alone should scare you enough to become a prepper. Also, I was looking at the 2-year Treasury just before I came on, and it's at 5%. Off the top of my head, it was like 1.4, something like that, 1.5% a year ago, and 2 years ago, it was barely maybe 0.20. So it has gone from really almost 0 to 5%. The bottom line to that, it's going to cost us billions and billions of dollars more in interest. If the interest rates on the government bonds keep going up, it is going to hasten the destruction of our country. It's going to hasten the economic collapse because all of our tax revenue will definitely be just going to pay the interest on our debt, not paying for anything to help Americans or create defense for our country. It will be paying interest. I hope you're prepping. I don't want to scare you, but you need to be developing relationships. You need to be developing skills. You need to be developing another avenue of bringing resources in, Federal Reserve notes, and also building up your sustainability, gardening, trees, animals, relationships with people. Please be working on this. I don't want to scare you. We have this false sense of security in this country. Hundreds of years ago, there was no safety net that we have now. If you were not able to work and you were not able to get charity from your community, you would starve to death. You would freeze to death. That's the reality of what could be coming. The only reason it's not happening today is we have a Federal Reserve System and a dollar that we can go out and buy and sell things. Without it, we will be in a lot of trouble. So keep prepping, keep praying. If you're a Christian, this is temporary. We're going to a much better place. If you're not a Christian, I can show you how you can have assurance that when you die, you will go to heaven. Send me an email to southernprepper1@yahoo.com. I would be glad to talk to you on the phone and give you some assurance. As a Christian facing uncertain times, I can face it. I know the future. I know where I'll be. Thanks for watching.